Hi, I'm Sharon Luca and I'm here today with Stuart Lawrence and we're going to have a chat about living the life you love. Hi Stuart, how are you?
Hi Sharon, really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. And thank you for being my first guest on my newest podcast.
No worries. I love to be the first time ever, like first experiences. So I'm absolutely blessed to be
And
the
I
very
feel blessed.
first and of many as well. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes, I'm
thank you
sure
very
we'll
much.
talk many times, many times. And I'm really honoured to have you as my first guest. I'm really pleased and feel very blessed to have you. So, I know many people know who you are, but I'd like to just start with if you could give us a little bit of an intro of um, what you do and how you've got to where you are as it as today.
Sure. So my full title is the Honourable Stuart Lawrence. I've gained a title through my mum being a Labour peer in the Houses of Lords, and because she was no longer married, then the title then goes to her eldest child, which is myself, and that's all come about because of my brother who was murdered in 1993, called Stephen Lawrence, and since then as a family, we've been campaigning for justice for Stephen, which then resulted into some bits and pieces of policy change, some law changes as well. And then that led me to become a teacher. So I was a teacher I worked in the education as a full-time teacher for about 15 years in one school, and then another 5 years supply teaching somewhere else. And in 2018, I decided that I was going to try and fly the nest and see if I could do some stuff by myself. And I started a little consultancy business, trying to teach about equality, diversity, inclusion in schools and in workplaces and in communities. And that is where I'm here with you now today, doing that. That's what I'm doing now, and I love being able to dictate my own ship. And I've also written a book. Which way do I need to go? I need to go that way. You can see behind me, I've written my own
Yeah.
book as well. So for me, I'm just on the path now, trying to empower young people to be the best versions of themselves, and then also to realize that they are important, but so is everyone else is important as well. And how do we all fit in and work together to ensure that we have some sort of joint up thinking and some sort of unity and helping each other? Because, like I try to keep explaining to people, we've got some big world problems to solve. Like the environment. Where's clean water coming from? Where's more food coming from? Those are big world problems that we need to solve. And and sort of really worrying about the navel gazing of skin color or religion or sexual orientation. Like, why are those important things? Because they're things about ourselves that we can't change.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I do now.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And your book is fantastic. I
Thank you.
absolutely
No.
loved it, and I love audiobooks, and I was so glad you did it in audio because I could just sit and sunbathe or have a soak or whatever it may be, lay back on my pillow and just listen to the book, and it's just really nice to have your voice amplify all those points that you're making in the book, and it's just brilliant. I thought it was
Hey, thank you very much.
fantastic, and
And again, like I
definitely one.
said, I
Sorry, go on.
just try to. That's my main essence of life. I just love helping people, and I love seeing people grow and develop and do the things that they think are possible that they can never do as well.
Yeah,
I love seeing that, and just seeing, like I said, seeing people grow and develop is my number one thing that I love to do.
yeah, brilliant. And did that passion really come sort of after what happened to Stephen, sadly, and was it a while that came after? Because imagine if it was, had it been the other way round, I would have been consumed with anger for quite some time. And did you feel that?
Yeah, no, definitely was consumed with a lot of anger earlier on. I definitely think that I was always a caring person as a child. I think that's something that, again, I've been trying to discover and find out bit more about myself before Stephen died. Because again, you have opinions of yourself. You think things about yourself. You think you may have been a particular way or thought in a particular way, and it's not until someone else either ratifies that or denies that fact, then you really can really sort of question and put it apart. So that's something I've been trying to do quite recently, which is to speak to friends and family that knew me post Stephen and ask them, what was I like as a child, and I'm pretty much as I was then as well, and I'm pretty much really happy that I haven't changed too much.
Yeah.
Yes, in the early stages, I was quite an angry, confused, almost lost little person, because I say to people all the time, when you have an older sibling and you are just constantly striving to be as good, as better than that person, you then tend to mimic and do a lot of things that they're doing, rather than doing things for yourself by yourself.
Yeah.
So once I had lost that sort of almost pathfinder in my life, it was a case of, right, what am I going to do? How am I going? And then I had a younger sister that I wanted to try and implement some of the stuff that Stephen had done for me as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
as I said, it's taken some time, but I do hope that I haven't veered off too far from the path that I originally started on.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I think that's really important because we can lose ourselves when you have such a close loss. And as you know, I lost my son 10 years this year. And I feel like a part of me died when he did. And I felt like a lot of who I was. I had to find a new version of myself, really, because I didn't feel like I was that kind of fun, jet setting, go person, spontaneous as I used to be. I'm kind of very more thought out and, you know, uh, withdrawn into myself a little bit more. Do you feel like that the lessons you've took from the past has shaped how you're raising your son, who's now 11? Do you think that's played a crucial part in his life and raising him?
Yeah, in parts it does. I'm trying to be, so, after we lost Stephen, my parents went into sort of the mode of lockdown. So where you going, who you going with, no you can't. So it was quite restrictive in those early parts. And someone else has asked about, why would you bring your son up in London with all the problems and issues that they have? And I was like, well, because those things can happen anywhere. Like, I can't put him in a bubble. I try to give him independence, and to allow him to be to grow, like I said. So he's 11 now. He's going to be going to secondary school in September. No, we've been lucky enough that he will walk to school. The school's close enough for him to walk to, so he doesn't take public transport. But
Yeah.
there's going to come a point where he'll have to get on the public transport by himself, or
Yeah.
go and do something by himself. So yeah, again, for me, it's about not scaring him, but just letting him be informed of the dangers and the pitfalls of life. And it's the friction with other people. That's what I keep explaining to him about. When you come with and see other people, you either come together like that and you get on really, really well, or sometimes there's friction between two groups of people. And it's, how do you deal with that friction, and how do you uh, walk away from that without it ended up in violence, or someone saying something or doing something hurtful towards each other.
Yeah.
That's the key that I need to now talk to him about, which again is a bit different from primary school, because again, he's going to be going to a school where he's 11, but there's going to be 17, 18-year-olds there. And if I remember, it was like my first day at school, and you just look up and you think, Jesus, like, they're like adults sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
You've
I'm in
gone
this
from being the
environment.
eldest at school to being the
Yeah.
youngest again, and
And
it's a real game changer in your mind. Just it's like, yeah, mind boggling,
yeah,
really, isn't
exactly.
it?
So like now he wants to walk to school now, but we live too far for him to walk. So, but he's still coming up with alternatives. Like, oh, right, you can drop me to such and such a person's house, and I can walk from there. And then when he comes out of school, he doesn't want his mum or dad to come and pick him up anymore, because that. So he's like, I'll meet you at the end of the road, or I'll meet you at the shop, or so there's that sense of, again, wanting to have that independence, wanting to have. And I say to people all the time, it's called a hidden curriculum that goes on between kids when they're together. The things that they talk about, things that they learn from each other, that's part of life and development, that
Yeah.
is. And you've just got to hope that the building blocks that you've instilled in your child, those principles, those character traits, those lines of what is right and wrong, are so strong that they would never ever do anything other than exactly what you'd expect them to do if you were standing right next to them. Like, that's the challenge and test, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's it. And I got a feel from your book, it was as if like you were probably talking to your son about you know, growing up and the kind of people around you, and you know, you might want to be a footballer, but you've got to have a backup plan of that kind of thing. And it really felt like, you know, this is something I want my son to listen to in a couple of years. He's 9
Yeah.
next month, but you know, when he is a bit older, I want him to listen to that, because he has got it in his head that maybe he can be a footballer, maybe he can be an F1 driver, you know, all these types of things. Oh, I want to do that, I want to do. Yeah, but maybe
But
you
that's great,
can't.
isn't it? Because
Yeah,
that's will drive him to, I'll go outside and practice your football. Oh, why? Oh, because I want to become, because you said you want to become a footballer, right? That's what footballers would do. Oh, okay. So for me, they're great justification to dream and to have that imagination of what you can become are
yeah,
great reasons for your why. Why do I have to? Oh, because you said you want to do that.
yeah,
So that's what and again, that's exactly what I did. I say to all the time, these are the things I want for my own son. Like when I taught like the children were my own members of my own family. That's the intent and care and dedication that I gave them. Like each and every single one of them were members of my own family.
yeah,
That's the standard that I want from all my teachers for my own child.
yeah,
That's the standard of service I want from all my public servants to go, do you know what? That could be a member of my own family. So therefore, I'm going to go above and beyond. That for me is so important, that mindset. So yeah, if I want it for my own son, then I surely want it for everyone else's children as well. And that's why we did it.
yeah, absolutely. And I hope, you know, teachers do read your book, because there's so much in there that teachers can take, especially when conversations are happening in schools and in classrooms, and they, you know, they digress into different things, and they can really take some good teachings from your book, because I thought it was just fabulous, really, really good one for definitely as children are growing up in the day and age we are in now. Everything you
Yeah.
said was so relevant, and you know, having the backup plan, having, you know, it wasn't, I suppose when I was younger, I mean, I remember my parents saying, what do you want to do? And for me, ever since I was sort of about 10, I wanted to work in a bank. And that's what I did. I worked in a bank. You know, I did a work experience in bank like we used to back in the 90s. And we did, I did a week there, and they, you know, the manager at the end of the week was like, if you want a job, he says, I'll put a recommendation for you. And I was like, okay, I've got my place at college. Now I'm offered a job. And my mum was like, well, what do you want to do if you finish college? Work in a bank. She goes, well, then it's up to you then. So I took the job, and I worked my way up, and I trained and everything, you know. And it wasn't, I didn't have a backup plan. That was just what I wanted to do. And but nowadays it's not as straightforward as it was back
No,
20,
because there's no jobs for
30
life
years ago.
anymore. That's
No.
what it is as well. Their jobs are for time periods, and that's again the world that we live in, where it's for a time. So therefore, once that time is finished, then what are you going to do next? How are you going to evolve and move into that next role or take on that next challenge? Because automation, you know, computers, technology is moving at such a rate where, you know, look at that. Who, if you said to someone 20 years ago that worked as a cashier at a supermarket, your job's going to be redundant in 20 years, they'd have laughed at you. What, people going up to and packing and paying for their own stuff? Oh,
How
crazy!
could that
Never
ever
happened.
happen? Yeah.
Happens now, doesn't it? We're quite all happy robots go into the shop, pick the stuff up, check it out ourselves, pay, pack it ourselves, go home. And
Yeah.
there used to be people that packed supermarkets and stuff when you used to pay for it as well. I remember going to America and seeing that happen. That was one of the very first places. I was like, wow, someone's actually packing my shopping into those brown bags, you know, that you
Yeah, they carry them in
amazing.
America like that.
Yeah.
I always
That don't
think, how did they
happen.
like carry big shops of in no handles? I'm like, I rely
No,
on handles.
carry them like that. You sort of like waddle from the shop to the car, or even they used to take it to the car for you.
No.
They used to take it to the car for you. Yeah. So you stand there, you'd put the stuff onto the conveyor belt, check it all out. They pack it for you. They put it back into the trolley, and yeah, sometimes they'd walk, like depending on your age and stuff, they'd walk your trolley out with you. So
Oh
and then
wow.
pick the stuff in the bag, and you give them like a little like $2 or like a little
Yeah.
tip to say thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You know what? It's funny actually you say that, because I went to Aldi the other day, and I've got a disability with my leg, and I use a walking stick, and because I have fibromyalgia, but the shopping bag was too heavy for me,
Yeah.
and they didn't have any trolleys available. So I had one of their push along baskets, but by the time it was full, because they didn't have any trolleys, well, it wouldn't take my fake, those charity coins.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't take that,
Literally.
so I couldn't use the trolley. And I said to the checkout lady, I said, "Is there anybody that can help me with the bag? Because my car's just there in the disabled spot. I've got a blue badge." And she goes, "Yeah, that's quite heavy." And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Leave it with me." And she just closed off her till, and she was like,
Oh, brilliant.
"Excuse me, I'm just going to help this lady take her
Yeah.
bag to the car." And it was absolutely wonderful of her. And I don't carry cash, otherwise I probably would have done. Here's the tip
Yeah, no,
for you,
definitely. No, definitely.
Yeah, and it's true, and I think it's just people being kind to people's
100%.
situations.
100%.
I think is a massive thing to teach our younger generation as well. So I'm just going to move on to a bit about mental health,
Yeah.
because you and I have both suffered from it. We continue to suffer from it.
Yeah.
What would you say your biggest things that have helped you during your mental health?
Time. I definitely say time's a great thing, and perspective, because when you're in a situation and you're going through something, sometimes it feels like it's never going to end.
Yeah.
Like you just don't see how things will ever feel better
Mm.
or feel like the way they used to do. And yeah, that's what I say to people all the time. Like, you know what? I don't know when, I don't know why or how, but one day you will feel better. You'll feel like yourself. You'll feel like you used to feel.
Mm.
And the achy feeling in the bottom of your stomach, the headaches, the frustration of not understanding things will dissipate.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to put things in perspective and understand that things happen for a reason. And sometimes those reasons are not very clear, not very palatable, but there's always a reason. And like Kevin Hart says all the time, you just got to try and find the positive out of every situation, which is hard sometimes.
Gosh,
It
yeah.
is really hard to find the positives. And sometimes those positives are so big, it takes you time to understand them.
Mm.
But yeah, try to find the little chink of light at the end of that tunnel and just focus on that. And
Yeah.
hopefully that tunnel, little chink will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're outside out the other end, you've moved forward, you've gained a better understanding. But yeah, it's I try not to give people that the romanticism of, oh, don't worry, sunshine road. I don't know when, but believe one day it will.
Yeah.
Like, and then talking about thoughts and feelings is super important, and not being too harsh on yourself. I always give the analogy of, so your best friend phones you up and she says, "Oh, I've had a horrible day. I lost my phone, I crashed a car, I've just been sacked." What would your response be to that person? Like, would you go, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that's happened to you," or would you be like, "Oh my goodness, like, don't worry," and try to find some words or say something or do something to try and bring them a little bit, lift them up a little bit after such a poor set of experiences? And then the question I ask myself, if you're willing to do that to other people, for other people, why would you do that for yourself? Why would you not just say, "Do you know what, Stuart? It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. Let's don't feel too bad about that yourself. Like, and just give yourself that little pep that you need sometimes, because you know exactly how you're feeling, and sometimes you also know those words that you could say to yourself to make yourself maybe feel a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. It is like you said, it's the time factor, because there's definitely, in our darkest period, there's no silver lining, there is no positivity, there is no something's going to come out of this, and there is none of that. And it's when the fog lifts and you can start seeing a bit clearer, and that, like you said, the headaches stop, and then you're thinking, okay, maybe it was for this reason, or maybe it was for that reason. It's like, gosh, I mean, I remember when Stephen was brutally murdered. Because you and I are a similar age. I think I'm sort of between you and Stephen actually, and it was shocking, and I always felt like, how is that family coping with this? It was, oh, I mean, just like, oh, just couldn't even think how you would be coping with it, or coming to understand it, and things like that. But the very next day, you had to sit an exam, didn't
You
you?
know, it was an exam. So I was in year 11. So it was the April, and my exams would start the May. And as I say to people all the time, education in school was not easy. I didn't find out I was dyslexic until I was 22, 21. So like school was never easy. And I'd worked my butt off. Like I really had like put in as hard, like as much work as I could have done to get these predicted grades that were halfway like decent. Like I had a couple of A's, there's some B's and some C's, but like they were going to be a good set of grades. And I was just like, well, I can sit and wallow, I could sit here and feel sorry for myself, or I could just try my best to persevere and to push on. And I decided to persevere and push on and see what happened. But again, now of reflection, I should have taken some time out. I should have maybe gave it a year and did my exams a year late, because those set of results weren't a reflection of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember sitting down in any example doing an exam. I have no recollection of that time at all.
Yeah,
Like I remember going to school the next day, that day, but then it's a blank between that and then me going back in September. I don't remember those bits there.
yeah,
And I remember going back in September to my old school to do sixth form. And within the first week, I was just like, do you know what? I can't do this. I can't be in this same environment with these same people who look at me like, oh my goodness, like how's Stuart actually being here and functioning and doing this? I just needed a fresh start. And that's what I did again for my own mental health. I just took myself away from people who knew who I was,
yeah. That
because
couldn't have been
that
easy
that
either.
was so much to deal with, of questions of, so what's happening, like this, I can't believe, like people just wanted to talk about it all the time to me.
Yeah,
So yeah, I just wanted to focus and get my head down, because after the first sort of like couple of weeks, and we realized, like, hold on a minute, why are they not arrested these guys for, like,
yeah,
why is nothing. And then like we had the Nelson Mandela moment, and then they were arrested, and we was just like, well, that's a bit weird. And then that summer we went and buried Stephen in Jamaica, like I said, and we just came back, and we've just been on a conveyor belt of just trying to fight things since then, really,
yeah,
right up until 2011,
yeah,
2012.
yeah. And gosh, what a long time that took. And kudos to your mum, because she's a magnificent lady, and I hope I get to meet her one day. But she's just so inspirational. And you know what? Part of why I began my charity was looking at a woman like your mom and saying, it takes people like us to do things, to make changes. And I saw some huge things that needed to be changed in the maternity sector for baby loss and things like that, because I know Luca should have been here. So I did lots of things about keeping his memory alive, which is what I promised him. Was we added his name to our surname, so technically I'm Luca hyphen Chatter, but and I started. I had never envisioned that I would start a charity, but it wasn't until I became very limited with my abilities that I lost my career as a project manager, and then I set up the Luca Foundation, which is another thing in his memory. I've got a tattoo with his name on my wrist. I've got his name on my number plate, for example. So all those things, I thought that's what I'll do. The charity was never there. That kind of came from me having to stop what I was doing through no fault of my own, and just then thinking, well, where can I focus my energy? And I fell back into a trap of grief, actually. I was grieving for the life I'd lost. I was grieving for the son I'd lost again. And and that's how the charity was born. But ultimately, I'm now doing things to keep his memory alive. So everything I do with the charity is another memory for Luca. So I feel like I can't do anything for his birthday here, but I can make memories for him with the charity. And do you feel like that as a family with when you do Stephen Lawrence Day, for example? Is that the kind of feelings you get?
Yeah, I definitely would say to people now that what I've noticed and understood that there's lots of young people have lost their lives to knife crime
Yeah.
and lost their lives to violence, and not a lot of people know those young people's names.
Mm.
They will hear a little bit. Oh yeah, that I think I've heard, and but to know their names, I was saying to someone the other day that 4 young people lost their lives during the Easter holidays
Yeah.
quite recently in London, and it's got to a stage now where they don't even say their names.
Yeah.
They just say 4 young people was. I'm just like, wow, there is no relevance, is there? There is no substance to that,
Mm.
and that's what I'm really grateful for. That even Stephen, though Stephen's not here, his legacy will continue to go on for hopefully for lifetimes.
Yes.
And there's so many people that have benefited from us losing Stephen as well, like the amount of architects that we've helped, that the amount of young people that we've come in contact, that we've made life changes, decisions, and projects for.
Yeah.
It's incredible when and that's not just in this country as well. We set up things in South Africa. There was things set up in Jamaica as well. So it's a thing where, again, I'm so grateful and yeah, great. I don't want to say the word happy, but it's not happiness. It's gratitude,
Yeah.
I suppose, as well. That people are remembering, talking about, because again, that gives him reverence, that gives him legacy, that gives him status in the world. When people talk your name and say and know who you are, that gives you space inside this world, and that's all we have as human beings, really, as essence, is our names.
Yes.
And that's name then comes to stature sometimes because of what the things you've accomplished.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I always say that we're never going to be as happy as we were when they were here. Or that level of happiness you're never going to peak that. You could get near it, but you're never going to peak it, and that's how I feel that's how your life continues. With your son, so obviously because of all the work you've done as a family, which would have been continuing when he was born as well. So does he understand a lot about his uncle Stephen?
So again, he knows bits and pieces. He knows he's longer, but I haven't gone into any great detail. It's something that, again, I've been trying to find the right time and place, because I've always said that I've got an older niece who is 18. Yeah, she's 18 soon. She is, and she's always known and had, like, in all the different family bits and stuff, and I always wonder, did that jade her childhood a little bit? I don't know. And it's a lot to carry.
It is.
It's a lot to carry. So I'm trying to, over time, just release little bits more, and I really hope to be able to go to Jamaica this year to try and give a bit more layers to the understanding that, but I don't know if that's going to happen this year or next year. But I'm lucky because, like I said, we've got a space up in De Montfort University that has a visual representation of what happened since we lost Stephen right up to current day. So yeah. I have a place where I can take him, and it makes that conversation a little bit easier for me to have. But
yeah,
I haven't gone into any greats, but I do think that now, especially at secondary school, especially the way that kids are, they can be either very polite and nice, or they can be very harsh and very pacific about things. So I want to best prepare him for if anyone starts throwing stones around and start making accusations, then he feels empowered to know the truth, because I'm sure that's going to come one day that, oh, you're, like, your family are a bunch of criminals anyway. So, what happened to your uncle? He deserved it, sort of thing. And I'm mindful of that happening. And then how would he respond to that? So that's my only sort of like
And
bits
that's
of
really
worry
hard
there.
to navigate as a parent,
Yeah.
isn't it? These conversations are so hard to have,
Yeah. Definitely.
and gosh, and yeah, uh, kudos to you, because you're doing it in the right way. The book you've done, you've got your second book coming out, which I can't wait to read, and all of that. You're doing things. I think it's taught you a lot as a person, hasn't it? I think it's shaped you as a person, as these things do with many people, and certainly when you're very close to it in the family, it shapes your future. Your future is different to what you thought it was going to be because of these circumstances.
100%. I think it gives you a better appreciation for life.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
that's the best way I can conduce it down to a can of baked beans, is it gives you a better appreciation of life, because you understand the fragility of life and how simple it can be to be here today and not tomorrow. Like
Yeah,
that's as simple as it can be.
yeah,
And so for
absolutely.
that means every day is special. Every day should be treated as the most amazing day that you could possibly have, because who knows,
Who
this
knows
could
what
be my
tomorrow?
very last. And
Yeah,
what memories do you want to leave behind you, and how do you want people to remember you? And
yeah,
that's all we have in life, isn't it? So
that's it.
yeah.
Exactly. So I'm assuming your short term goals is your next book, isn't it?
No, do you know what my short term goal at the moment is? To try and go on holiday. that's that's my no, I'm joking. Yeah, yeah. I've got the book coming. I've got the book coming. Which I've got some writing to do, which I've got to find some time and space to do as well. So maybe I keep on saying to people, I've got this romantic idea of, writing my book, and I wake up in the morning, I do a bit of a stretch, I have some freshly squeezed orange juice, I walk to a desk that overlooks a white sandy beach with a blue sea, and I take my pen, my quill, and I start to write. That's the picture I have in my mind of writing, rather than, as I look out my window now, like a grey, murky day with lots of trees around the place, like that's my reality. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's short term. I've just got to crack off the book, close out the rest of this school academic year, and yeah, we've got some planning and prep to do for next year as well. So
yeah. And
yeah,
only have
exciting times ahead. Got more to do. We've not even scratched the bottom of the mountaintop at the moment. So there's a lot still to do.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, your journey is going to be long, and it's going to be fruitful, and it's going to be just amazing. The education you're going to be giving people through what you do
Yeah.
is just phenomenal, and not just young people as well, for adults as well, because adults equally struggle to have these types of conversations, and you've certainly helped me equip me for things that I could tell my son going forward. So I've really
Yeah.
appreciated what you've done in that book.
No worries, because again, it's that space to be uncomfortable, isn't it? We are all here learning and understanding and better understands about things,
Mm.
and it's about, even as adults, I say to people all the time, like the day you say, "Oh, I know everything, I've got it all sorted," like is the day that you start making more mistakes than you ever realized before in your life, because you've just got to be open, this open channel to go, do you know what? There is so much I can learn. There's so many different people I can learn from. I'm just going to be a sponge. And then the more we can suck it up,
Yeah,
and then, like I said, when we do friction, or when we do come together, people share those
yeah,
good bits,
that's
help each
it.
other,
That's it.
and that's
Exactly.
that's that's going to make the world the beautiful place that we want you to see, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
again, the legacy is my son. That's my legacy. He,
yeah.
he he will be the next one to carry on the mantle, to go on to the direction I shape and form or suggest that he goes in. And his
Mm.
sets of morals and sets of principles of, is it all just about him? in the world, or whatever he can make and whatever he can get, and me, gather, or is it about, you know what, I'm like, come, let's go. We all can share from this. Like, we all can take a part of this. We all can grow together. We all can be better together.
Yeah,
I just think it's more of a better, productive attitude to have to life, rather than just, you know, it's all mine. It's all mine.
We all learn from each other, and that's exactly what my podcast is about. It's about, you know, people that have gone through adversities. It's about people that have you know, picked themselves up again and starting to find the life that they love, but also teach what they can teach other people from that as well. So I hope that from every episode that we do on my podcast, that we'll always give somebody a lesson to take away, to help enlighten their life a little bit as well. And that's my ultimate aim. So what's your long-term goal, Stuart?
Right, so long-term goals is, I just, like I say to people all the time, my analogy of life at the moment is I've got a little drum, like, and I'm like this at the moment, and I'm banging this little drum about equality, diversity, about, you know, not looking at other people, about being the best version of yourself. And I just don't feel like my drum is being heard by everyone. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is, you know, go from like that to like that, and then from like that to be going blah, 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 and then other people joining in and helping to bang the drums as well. And that's my long-term goal, really, just to try and keep on pushing that message out, really, trying to reach more young people, not just in this country as well, and in other countries as well, because again, we're quick to think about our country ourselves when we are nothing but a grain of sand at the beach of life. Like, England is such a small country when you compare it to some of the other countries out there. And again, there is world problems that we all need to get on board and deal with and help each other deal with. So again, like, if I could get the message out there for that, that'd be great. And then, like I said, like I'm on this journey about equality, diversity, and racial inclusion for another 7 years. So I'm excited to see what happens after those 7 years. Like, I've got aspirations to go into TV, into movies, and to take my writing there, because again, I've realized that it's great putting things in books, but hey, we live in the 21st century. Not a lot of kids read books anymore. They listen to things, yes. So podcasts are important, like yourselves, but then also TV programs, documentary shows, you know, showing them content in that sort of sense, because that's again another way to inform and to help them understand stuff about the world. So I've got some aspirations to do that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, our kids, you know, they love the Marvel stuff, they love the Star Wars stuff, all that fantasy type of thing as well, and being superheroes. But there's also that kind of molding person into what they have and where they've come from. So I encourage my son to watch documentaries. So he's madly into F1 at the moment. So there's been this whole series on Netflix about F1, and he's watched every episode, and he'll probably repeat it a few times. I'm like, I'm sure we've seen this one before. He goes, yeah, but I want to watch it again. And that's great, because he's seeing where these drivers came from, where they started to where they've got to, and they've worked for it. And I hope by watching these types of programs that ethos starts to sort of sip into him and start thinking, actually, yeah, I'm not going to get there unless I start here. And that's exactly what your message is as well. And I think it's brilliant, and the way it can just happen for children when you just point them in the right direction and say, I think you'll like to watch this. Have a look, see what you think. And it just opens doors for them.
It does, and it shows them the mess sometimes as well, because that's what I say to people that social media doesn't always do. You know, when you look at Instagram, you're just seeing the final Lewis Hamilton celebrating, yay! You're not seeing 7, 8 years old. He wake up a Saturday morning, cold, wet. You know, him practicing his craft and his karting. You know, doing that for 8 years before you did. Like, that's the bit that sometimes the messiness and the muckiness of life, they don't understand, and they just think, oh, what's there must be a shortcut. There is no shortcut to life.
That's it.
Hard work, dedication is the shortcut to life. That's the only, you know, magic bullet I can tell you. Is it going to be easy? Probably not. anything worth doing is probably going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. But
Yeah.
do you know what? On the other end of it, that feeling that you get, can you imagine standing in front of all those people and them celebrating your win? Like, that's amazing.
Amazing.
But that never happened for Lewis Hamilton day one. He's probably had lots of wins where he stood there and it was just his dad clapping for him. The rest of the dads are going, oh, that bloody Lewis, he's won again. Oh, I hate him. Like, there must have been a lot of that going on as well. But
what you're doing, are you paying somebody to make you better? You get more lessons. What you're doing, you get more extra privileged time. It's all of those things that start coming into it. And I take my hat off to these people that do these documentaries as well, because that's the only way our generation, our younger generation, our boys coming up in the world, our girls coming up in the world now, are going to learn that it's not, like you said, the Instagram life, the Twitter, TikTok life, all of that. It's the hard grassroots of where you come from, and then you build yourself up and you achieve it all the way along, and that's amazing. So ultimately, how do you live the life you love?
By doing what I do now. That's my secret. I've just finished working for someone. I worked for a football club doing football scouting, and that was my last job where someone else was in dictation of my time and paid me money for it. And I've just been told my contract will not be renewed on the 31st of May this year, so I no longer work for anyone other than myself.
Wow.
Which is a great thing. It's a challenge. It's scary. It's nerve-wracking, but do you know what? It's hell exciting as well. It's great, and I love it, and I'm determined to prove that I can be captain of my own ship. I can steer that ship in any direction I want, through the high seas and the beautiful, whatever it may be. I'm just happy that I dictate my own time, because that for me is the secret to life. To being able to go, do you know what? Theo's got cricket against Eton House Tuesday at 4:00. I can go.
That's it.
No one says to me, oh no, Stu, you can't because you've got this meeting. No, if I want to go, I will go. And that for me is how I now live my best life. And as I said, I'm lucky and I appreciate I'm in the position to be able to do that. But again, that never happened overnight. I didn't just wake up one day and go, that's all my experience of being a school teacher. It's all the experience I've had previously, now incumbinating itself into be my own product that I can use as a resource to go out and do the things that I do. Like that's what I've got it there. So that's how I suppose I live my best life and how I do the things I want to do.
I love that because I totally, because our boys are only a couple of years apart, and when I was in the corporate world, yes, I missed stuff when Kai was at nursery and things, but now I get to see it. I get to see his sports day and all of that kind of thing, and my husband works for a corporate company, but then I'm doing things like podcasts. I'm a little nobody. I'm not known by anybody and stuff like that. But kind people like yourself give me the time of day to then have conversations like this, so we can spread the kindness word, and say that the things that we love in life are going to be different for everybody. And
100%.
And every like I said, every episode that we do, always somebody's going to think, I like that part of the way he loves his life. Oh, I like the part where she loves her life. And there's going to be snippets that people take from that. And it's not easy being self-employed at all. It's more stressful, if anything, isn't it? You get the time to see your kids and all of that, but it's more stressful because you don't know where the next bag of food's coming from and where that's going to be paid from, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. But it sharpens your mind, though, and that's what I say to people. Like, what a great motivator in the mornings to wake up and go, what have I got to do? Because if I don't, then that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And I said to my wife the other day, if it all goes pear-shaped, then I can always go back to teaching. Like I've got lots of safety nets. We talked about backup plans.
Yeah,
Got lots of backup plans if this doesn't work out. So
yeah,
yeah, again, I'm not just going, yay, gun ho, woohoo! Like there is a plan. We put things in place. We try to do things, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll start again. And if I need to reset and go back to teaching for a while, then I'll go and do that. That's not a
yeah,
problem.
yeah. And that's the beautiful thing, like you said, have a backup plan in your book. That's your backup plan, is your teaching, isn't it? So it's amazing because everybody's learning something from you, and I think you won't have to go back to teaching at all. I think you're going to be there. You're going to be on bigger stages. You're going to be talking to larger audiences. You're going to have like an O2 sellout thing like Stephen Bartlett did recently. That's what I can envision for you, and I hope
Oh,
it
thank
comes
you.
true. I really do.
Yeah,
'Cause
me too, me
you
too. But
deserve
again,
that.
I said it, and even if it doesn't, then I'm quite happy in my little lane as well. And the whole thing about as well about doing things for other people is for me. I love the analogy about the sun. The sun is so big it shines on everyone.
Yeah,
That light, doesn't it?
yeah, it
It's
does.
not a spotlight that some people have.
Mm.
Some people just mentioned Stephen Bartlett, love the guy. He has a spotlight that focuses on him, and everyone that can focus on that. But I believe that the sunshine is so big that we all can shine. We
Oh,
all have our moments,
yeah,
and I love to be able to help, support again, giving back, helping other
yeah,
people, seeing development and growth. Because again, that's something. If I don't, so my eldest mentee now, I spoke to him today, and he's just secured a £75,000 job at
wow,
30. He's 30. He's just turning 30. He is
wow,
£75,000.
that's
And
amazing.
I
That's
say to him all the
fantastic.
time, dude, you are my biggest success. I can go to my place happy to know I've enabled someone else to we talk about hurdles and jumping things. So he owns his own house now with someone. He's got 75, nice 5-figure salary now. Like these hurdles he's got to quicker than I did.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy.
So
Like
that's amazing because
I'm happy.
that's what it's like people with this 184 million win that you heard
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this week. I
yeah.
was like, I watched those guys on the telly, and I thought, you know what, it couldn't have happened to a nicer couple. They seem so genuine, and and they just want to help people. That's what all their mind is about: who they're going to help, who they're going to help.
Brilliant.
And it's kindness, helping people, giving people a little step, a supporting hand, and say, right, actually, I think you should talk to so and so, and you should talk to so and so. If you can introduce somebody to somebody, do it, because you don't know how it's going to change their life for the better.
100%.
And I think that, yeah, you do that massively, and God bless you, because you're fantastic.
Oh,
Thank
all right.
you. Thank you for being with me today and being my first guest. Yay! And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Stuart. And
Nice pleasure.
peace and blessings be with you.
Same to you.
Thank you.